filling your players' emotional tanks. And now we're going to talk about honoring the game. But first, I want to give you a scenario to kind of think about maybe how you've reacted in the past, how you're going to maybe it just happened, and how your players reacted. And here's the scenario. The opposing coach has been screaming and yelling at the official all game long. And now it's towards the end of the game, the last final minutes of the game, and he makes a terrible call that goes against your team. How did you react? What did you do in that situation? And that's kind of what we're talking about with PCA and honoring the game, is how you're going to react in situations like that and how you teach your players and even their parents how to react. So think about that as I'm going through what we at PCA call honoring the game. Some of you may think of it as like, what is that really what we're doing? What about sportsmanship? Well, that's in a sense what we are talking about. We are talking about sportsmanship and how we want our players to go about their business and what we want them to do. Excuse me. Sportsmanship. It's what we all strive for. It's what we all want to see out of all our players. And here at PCA, we call it honoring the game. It's a stronger version of sportsmanship, as we like to say. So what do you think sportsmanship means? Think about that question. Everybody's got a different answer. A lot of different, you can say one thing, another person says something else about what sportsmanship is. We have an idea here at PCA. Instead of thinking about it as sportsmanship, we think about it as honoring the game so we can consider the concept to help and inspire and motivate our players. Because that's what we're trying to do. You're trying to motivate people. And those are your players. So that's what we're thinking about when we talk about honoring the game. You guys have heard it as a player. You've probably said it as a coach. One of these different scenarios, I like to call them, when you're in the locker room, you're trying to fire up your team. You're going to give out the best Vince Lombardi speech you've ever given, and it comes out of your mouth, talking about sportsmanship and stuff like that. Play the game the right way. Respect your teammates. Respect the officials. Respect the opponent. Do your best and everything else. You've all given that speech probably if you've coached, or you've heard it as a player. We've been there, done that. And that's what we've kind of done here at PCA. We've combined all those things that you're trying to motivate your team with one simple way of doing it. And that's called roots. And what that represents is respecting the R is the rules. Respecting the rules of the game. The first O is opponents. Respect your opponents. The second O is the officials. Respect your officials. T is for your teammates. Respect your teammates. And finally, respect yourself. And that's what we're talking about with honoring the game, is those 5 concepts. And I like to think of it as, you can think of it as a tree root. You have strong roots, you're going to have a strong foundation for success, and that tree is going to grow and be very strong. Or the way I kind of look at it is, you've got five fingers. Each one of those letters represents a finger. And if you think of your team represents each individual, and if you all become one, and now you've become a fist, it's a lot stronger than just having roots. You've got to have the strong foundation for that. Let's go over what each one means. Rules. Respecting the rules of the game. Do you want to play somebody that's cheating? Do you want to win by cheating? I'd like to think a lot of us would say no. Pretty much all of us would probably say no. We don't want to lose to somebody that cheats. So teach your kids how to respect the game by respecting the rules, and they'll have a lot more fun playing. Your opponents. Respect your opponents. Why would you want to respect your opponents? I've always found that through my playing days, the teams that I respected the most were the fun games I ever played in. Guys that were friends of mine on the other team who I had a lot of respect for, those were always the fun games. Yeah, we razzed each other and gave each other a hard time, but in the end, they were the funnest games. Win or lose, they were fun. The officials, and here's a tough one for a lot of us, coaches, parents, fans in general, is respecting the officials. Remembering that they are human beings and they are going to make mistakes. It's very tough in a situation like that scenario I gave you to look back and go, oh, that call just went against it, and not start screaming and yelling at an official. It's tough for some people. But that's why we have mistake rituals, so that you can kind of ease yourself back and not have that explosion and yelling at the referee. Because if you're going to yell at the referees, what do you think your players are going to do? And in turn, what are parents going to do? And your fans going to do? Then respect for your teammates. You've got to respect your teammates. I didn't say you had to be best friends with them. I didn't go out and hang out with every single guy I ever played baseball with. But I respected their talents and what they brought to our team. And if you do that, you can become that fist and have a lot of success. And finally, respect for yourself. I had a long time ago when I was growing up, I had Rich Hawker, who used to coach for the St. Louis Cardinals and Toronto Blue Jays. He told me, he says, Brian, you've got to have confidence when you're playing baseball. Confidence when you're doing anything. If you don't have confidence in yourself, nobody's going to have confidence in you. And that kind of goes with respecting yourself. If you respect yourself and believe in your abilities, then other people are going to do the same thing. So in turn, all those 5 things, if you put them all together again, it makes that solid fist that forms that foundation you need to have success. And that's what we're talking about here at PCA. Respect the rules, respect your opponent, respect the officials, respect your teammates, and respect yourself. The Roots Foundation, representing what we truly believe can help you have success no matter what sport you're playing and in life in general. So let's go back to that first scenario I gave you. The opposing team, coach, he's been screaming and yelling at the official. Now all of a sudden it seems like it's working. All of a sudden, you come up to the last moments of the game and he makes a bad call, it goes against your team. Terrible. It's a terrible call. It goes against your team. Now, if you had laid this foundation with Roots, how do you think your players would have reacted? Think back to that time where you maybe exploded on a referee, or one of your players or parents had a bad situation. If you had this foundation of Roots, how would that situation have been different? What would your players have done differently? What would you have done differently? So take all this information that we've given you today, and here in a minute we're going to talk to you more about the Roots and dive into a little bit more in the toolkits section that's on page 46 through 51 in your double goal coaching book. And we'll discuss that along with some other things, and then I'll end it with answering any questions you guys may have. We finally get to the end of talking about double goal coaching and all the elm tree of mastery, filling the emotional tanks, and finally honoring the game. Because that's truly what we want to do, is honor the game no matter what game it is. We want our kids to have success, and we want to have success. So now let's dive into the toolkit, which I'm not going to dive into because I probably ran out of time.
You still have 1 minute and 30 seconds left if you want to dive in at all.
I do? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I went faster than I thought I would.
That's okay. You can stop there. That's fine. That's fine. It's just I don't want to push it. Well done, Brian. You know your stuff. I gotta say. I mean, I was just looking through because I never met you before, and I was wondering why. And I'm looking through, going, okay, he answered every question the whole way through, but I never saw you on a Google Hangout the whole time. So that's why I didn't recognize you, and I didn't know who you were. Did you get a chance to go back and watch any of those Hangouts by any chance?
I've watched a few of them.
Okay.
With having 2 kids and a little one that's crazy, it kind of makes it difficult trying to hear everything sometimes when you're watching it if they're up. So I usually wait till they go to bed to watch anything, and then sometimes I fall asleep because I usually am tired by then.
Well, I put you to sleep is what you're trying to say.
No, that's not it. I just, staring at a computer, I tend to start dozing. It's kind of like watching TV. As soon as I sit in my recliner for the end of the day, I tend to doze after about 8 o'clock because my kids blew me out.
Let me use this here because I agree. If I sit there and I just have to listen to something, I'm going to fall asleep too. I'm going to be completely out of it.
Yeah.
You know your stuff. You have good stories. Your voice is awesome. I think you really are going to command the attention of the people you're in front of, and you can tell you have experience. I mean, I think you threw in some stories. You talked about sportsmanship. You talked about Vince Lombardi's speech. the way you explained rules, officials, opponents, team, I mean, it was like dead on. There was not one thing that came out of your mouth that I was like, oh gosh, he shouldn't have said it that way. The only thing I would recommend is this: if you're going to be in front of a room for 90 minutes of a workshop, and you talk to us for 90 minutes, because for that 8 minutes and 30 seconds, none of us talked.
Yeah.
So you did all the talking. Yeah. I think you're going to put the audience to sleep.
You're probably correct.
So what I want to see you do.
I think I would probably have more questions, obviously, going forward.
You asked questions. You asked 4 questions, and then you answered them yourself. Yeah. So I think like what we want you to do, even though this is a demonstration and it's not live, and it is a kind of a way for us to see that you know your information, which guarantee you do. Yeah. But what we also want to do in this hangout situation, this demonstration, is to see how you would bring the audience in. Gotcha. Because it is a workshop, it's not a lecture, and it's not a clinic. So I want to see if you ask a question to the audience. Part of this that Ruben and I sort of are looking for is how well do you ask questions and how do you engage the audience? And when someone from the audience gives you an answer, how do you feel that answer? Because sometimes it's not always the answer that you expect. So you did. I wrote down. You asked 5 questions.
I just didn't give anybody time to answer them.
Right. You just didn't let us answer.
I think I would probably do that more in a workshop setting where it was more of, okay, now give me some feedback, kind of like a classroom. I think in this setting, I just was kind of, okay, I need to get through what I'm talking about in that 10 minutes.
Yeah. And you did. Ruben, go ahead.
Brian, what I wanted to jump in with.
Hey, Ruben.
Hi, Brian. Hey, don't wait for the live workshop to create the interaction. And next week in your final, that's when we want you to do it. Okay, so yeah, whether you do honoring the game again or you do another piece, those questions, those good questions you're asking, you let us answer them. Let's create the conversation starting next week in your final.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Lindsay, what did you like about what Brian did?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I like Brian's presentation. I think once he gets in front of people, he won't have his hands like that in front of him the whole time. Yeah, and I know he'll be moving around. I can tell he's a coach, and I know he'll start bobbing his head and walking across and pointing over here. I can feel that from him. That was the only thing. I thought he did a real good job, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we said, we know this is kind of a funky situation being on a video camera, but next week, really bring us in. Bring us into it. Get us hear from us. Hear our ideas, because that's the way it's going to stick with the coaches, especially if it's 90 minutes or longer than an hour. So I'm excited to see what you do with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Lindsay.
Hi.
Hi. How are you? Do you want to see the PowerPoint? Because I can bring it up for you if you want to see it. Or do you have it there?
I have it here.
Okay.
So I can just do it myself.
Okay, that's fine. What section are you going to do?
I am doing the E-Tank.
Awesome. Okay, and do you want to introduce your friend to Ruben? I guess you met already, right?
Yeah, Kiko knows Ruben.
Okay.
Ruben, yeah, they met.
All right.
Kiko came to half of the workshop on Saturday.
Oh, that's right. That's what she said. Awesome. All right. So I'm gonna give you 10 minutes too. Use us however you would in a real workshop, and you can start whenever you feel comfortable. Go for it.
Okay, this is pretty interesting because I pushed play and it took my whole screen away, so I can't really see you guys. Is that okay?
It's okay with us if it's okay with you.
Yeah, it's okay with me. I just look.
Raise our hand. You just have to assume we're all raising our hand.
Okay. And when I ask somebody to read, you can just read because I won't pick you because I can't see you.
There you go.
Okay. So we're going to move on to principle number 1, which is filling the emotional tank. And at PCA, we call that for short the E-Tank. Now, as you see, we have a slide up here. And Ruben, would you like to read that slide to me? The Maya Angelou. Oh, they can't see it. Oh, never mind. So
no, I have it. Ruben, you're on mute.
Do you want to read it, Kelly, so that you read it precisely, or do you want me to paraphrase?
Sure. I will read it. People don't care. Actually, I'm making it up on top of my head because I don't have the slide up.
that's fine.
What you say, they don't care what you do. Here it is. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
And that reminds me of a story that I have. When I first came back to Portland, Oregon in 2005, I had been gone since 1992. I was leaving a restaurant and a young lady walked up to me. She didn't walk up to me. I heard a coach. And I thought to myself, hey, there's a coach in here. And then I heard a Coach Lindsay. And I said, oh, that must be me. And I turned around and she walked toward me and she said, hi, I'm Julie. And I gave her the, do I know you look? And she caught on to the look and she says, yeah, you wouldn't remember me. I was a freshman basketball player at St. Mary's Academy when you were the varsity coach. But all I can tell you is it was the most important experience of my life, and I'll never forget it because you came to freshman practice on numerous occasions and made us feel like $1 million. And I don't so much remember what we learned in basketball, but I really remember how you made me feel. So that's one of those things that sticks with you for life, at least for me. That I mean, after 12 years, this lady was in her 30s, and she still remembers something like that. So moving on, the emotional tank is like the fuel tank on your car, okay? And the best way for athletes to perform is with that tank on full. Who can give me some instances that would put a tank on empty?
Getting yelled at by your coach.
Yeah, a pessimistic coach. Yeah, exactly. Anybody else?
Constant turning the ball over constantly.
Constant mistakes. Yes, they give up more easily. Anybody else?
Thinking that the coach thinks you're bad.
Yeah, thinking that the coach doesn't like you anymore. They make them less coachable.
Or that your teammates don't like you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or that your teammates don't like you or don't appreciate you or don't want you on the team.
Oh, that would make you really go deep in the tank. So let's talk about full tanks. What are some characteristics that would put a player in a full tank mode?
Feeling supported and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I think succeeding and I think experiencing success would fill someone's tank.
Absolutely. And I think that would make them more coachable. They'd probably also be more optimistic and deal with adversity quite a bit better than the empty tank.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what we can do to drain a tank. Criticism and correction are major issues in coaching, and they can definitely drain a tank. Sarcasm, and this would be coming on, you guys know how it works, it'd be coming up, sarcasm, ignoring, and then nonverbals.
Yep. Lindsay, I do hold it up if you wanna turn off your PowerPoint. I did pull it up.
You did? Okay, cool. Okay, let me get rid of it. Bam.
If that's
There
easy.
you are. Yes. Okay.
If you just click on the box that has a PowerPoint, you'll see it in big. You'll see it on the big screen. You got it?
I got it. I don't see the box though.
Like at the bottom, see the bottom little boxes? If you click on the one that has the PowerPoint in it, you should be able to see that big. Okay.
I got conversation, green arrow, yellow tags, Q&A, and a
Then at the bottom of the screen, see where all our pictures are at the bottom of the screen? Do you see one of those little boxes? Instead of it being a picture of me, it's got the PowerPoint. It's got the e-tank.
No, but it has this arrow.
You don't see the PowerPoint down there?
The PowerPoint's on my screen.
Okay.
Go, hit again.
It's just when I talk, it comes up. It's connected to my voice. It's on my computer, so when I talk, it comes up big. But when it's not up big, it's on the little. Should be in one of the little squares at the bottom instead of my picture.
All right. Well, I'll wait. I see the words Kelly.
Can you move your clicker over and click on my box that says Kelly?
And then it enlarged the picture. I can profile you, ignore you, or mute you.
Okay.
Kelly, I can still see your face.
You should see my face in one square, and you should see the PowerPoint in another square. I'm up twice.
Got it. Okay.
I paused you, so. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you. I thought this might make it easier for you. I'll just click through it. Go ahead.
Okay, you click through it. Okay, click. Okay, so we're talking about what fills a tank, and you can read it right there. But what I want to do is I want everybody to stand up. And I want you guys to pretend like you're coaches on the sideline. And what's going to happen is we're going to talk about what drains a tank. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to shoot a shot, and I'm going to miss. And that's only for this demonstration because that doesn't happen often. So when I miss, I want you guys verbally and non-verbally to let me know what is going to drain my tank. So I'm going to shoot, I'm going to look at you, and you're going to tell me. So, shot, look.
Oh my gosh, you were wide open. How could you miss that?
Oh man, not again.
Are you kidding me? What's wrong with you?
Okay, so I'm pretty E now. So I built myself back up, and this time, no verbals, nonverbal communication. I'm going to shoot, miss, and I'm going to look back at you, and you're going to let me know non-verbally that you are disgusted with me. Okay. So I was pretty drained from that. So let's jump to the other side and fill my tank. So we're going to do the same thing, verbal and non-verbal, when I shoot this first shot, and then I'm going to look at you.
Yeah, all right.
That's it. Way to get open.
Boy, Lindsay, good job. Boy.
Good one.
Yeah. Okay, now, non-verbal. I'm going to shoot and miss and look at you.
Hey, it's all right. Let's go.
It's okay. You got it. Next one.
Okay, so for you guys, you were pretty much equal on your volume. I thought on your draining, you were a little higher on the. You guys drained very well. Okay? So we can click and move on from that one. But before we go to the one thing that most coaches do to become more effective, let's talk about criticism and correction. Okay? How many of you guys can coach without criticizing or correcting? Anybody raise your hand if you can. So none of us can. So we all have to criticize and correct. Why is it on the drain side? Any ideas?
I think you can correct without criticizing.
Yes, you can. Exactly. Okay? And what we believe is there are certain ways to criticize and correct, and later on in this demonstration we'll review them. But right now I wanted to make sure that I touched on that particular issue because I think it's important to know that as a coach you have to be able to criticize and you have to be able to correct, but you have to find the right time for your players to be successful. So with that in mind, we can go here. I want you to read that question, think about it, but don't answer it now because we're going on to the next slide. Click. There we go. So, positives to criticisms. What do you think that magic number might be?
3 to 1.
3 to 1, that's a number.
2 to 1.
2 to 1 is another number.
50-50.
50-50, 1-1. That's enough. We're going down. Yeah, okay.
100-1.
100-1. Okay, we've jumped way up. Brian, what you got for me?
10-1.
10-1. Okay, so click. Believe it or not, that's our number. Okay. Some research says that 10 and above is way too high. It's kind of like a false, and they won't believe you. Below 5 is not quite enough. And this isn't to say that you have to run out on the floor and say, you're great, you're wonderful, you did this and da-da-da, and then bam, you make it. You know, you fill these up. Like when I walk in the gym, I'm always the first one to the gym. I make sure I am in the gym first. And every time a player comes in, they get a hug, they get a shake, they get a how are you, they get a how was school. I've already got 3 or 4 in there already. They get let's have a good practice. You ready to go? That kind of thing. So I'm already on top. And then we go into practice. And that way when your players come in the gym, they feel like, hey, coach walked over to me, said something to me, made me feel good before practice. My girls say, wow, he did all that, but we know we're going to die. And that's okay. And that's how a lot of the players look at the practices that we have, because they're not usually easy. So if you look in your book on page 32, in your toolkit, you will see the magic plus and minus ratio. And I recommend that you carry this book around like it's your toolkit for your car or your computer or whatever you have. And think of it as you're opening it for a tune-up or for an upgrade, because we don't want to wait till our car is broken down before we take out our toolkit, because we don't want to have to fix it. We want to have to make it run smoother. So, next.
All right, I'm going to stop you there. That was 10.
Whoa! Wow!
Your story was good, though.
Not as quick as I was.
Oh, God.
Much better.
That was good. No, I think you were doing fine. I even paused when we had the technical stuff going on. No, I think it was fine. The thing is, I think the reason that Brian got through much more was because he didn't stop to hear from us. It takes time to make things interactive, but that's quality time. That's a good thing. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I got to get through this so much faster.
Okay.
You're doing good things. And I'd like to just hear what, Brian, what did you like best about what Lindsay did?
Well, you guys were right when you hit on mine too, as well, about stopping and asking questions. It was more interactive than mine was when I gave my spiel. I did cover a lot more information, but it was because I didn't stop and let people answer questions, and there was no interaction at all. Mm-hmm. But he had that interaction that I think is necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Good job. How about Keith? What did you think?
I thought it was really good. I think the stories make it so that you remember it. Like, you might not remember the quote word for word, but you remember the idea of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I just have a couple comments. I agree with the storytelling. I think, when I heard that story, just hearing you say, man, she said you made us feel like $1 million. Like, I'll remember that. And I think that was a good story. It was in a good spot. Lindsay, I love your sense of humor. I think it's a really huge asset that you have to make everybody feel comfortable, and you set a tone for fun. And I can almost picture what your practices look like if I walked in the gym. I could just high-fiving, patting people on the back. How's it going? What's going on? I would want to go to your practice, because, when my freshman year, when I got to play varsity and I walked into the gym, you could freeze ice on my coach. I mean, he didn't even give us a look. It was like, you measly little freshman, you think you're great, get on the end line. We're doing suicides till you can't walk. I mean, that was my experience as a freshman, and I'm thinking, man, if I had a coach like that, as a senior varsity coach that treated me like that, made me feel like that, man, I would have been a much better basketball player by far. So I connected with your story really, really well. I also think that, you hit the book great. I think the point of criticism and correction, that is a good point to make, because a lot of coaches say, man, I got to criticize. I have to. These kids have to learn. So I think you did a nice job. And keeping with the slides, even though I liked that you weren't reading necessarily word for word, but you kept the slides to support you, which I think is really good, without depending on them 100%. You knew what was coming up, and that's just going to get better and better every time you.
Okay.
Ruben, go ahead. Did you have any comments for Lindsay? I know you see a lot, but.
Yeah. So Lindsay, you know, again, remember the 10-minute time frame here is not going to allow you to do, in most cases, do the entire principle. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
You know, you were doing a piece of it, and the E-Tank principle of the 3 probably has the most slides and is going to take the longest of the 3.
Okay.
You know, so don't get caught up about the time.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, lots of strengths, Lindsay. You know, you had the presence, and you knew the workshop well enough that when you asked Kelly to move forward to the one thing most coaches can do to be more effective, you remembered. Oh yeah, wait a minute. I want to hit critique and correction as a necessary part of coaching. You know. I love your book references to having us look at the magic ratio in the book, and I like the way you executed the drain fill exercise and got us standing, got us interacting with you. Just lots of good things you did there, Lindsay.
Okay. I need the criticisms.
Criticism. You know. Okay, I'll give you one critique suggestion. I pointed out that you went back to correction as a necessary part of coaching, and I think you could drive that point home stronger as to why, if it's a necessary part of coaching, why PCA has it on the tank drain side. And I think the one thing you want to pull out, if you don't get it from the group, then you want to add it when you ask them why does PCA have correction over here on this side. It's that correction, critique implies mistake, implies that it wasn't done as well as it could be done, as well as the coach thinks you can do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's what I needed. Yeah, I knew something was missing there, but I couldn't figure it out this week. So.
Otherwise, correction would be wouldn't be there on that side. You know.
Yeah.
It's because it implies.
We're assuming that all of our athletes want to be the best they can, and if they make a mistake, they're not pleased.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things, that's a good point to bring up, that I like it when trainers bring up the fact that knowing your player's emotional tank level is the first step, because as you said, not everybody's emotional tanks are at the same spot, and not everybody gets their tanks filled and drained the same way. So, you know, having your finger on each of your players, knowing your players well, knowing what fills them up, knowing what drains them, is really, really important. One of the trainers actually yesterday, I thought it was a great analogy. She said, how do you feel when the low fuel light comes on in your car? That light starts blinking, like you're not on empty yet, but it starts blinking, you know, and she said that's when you start to panic. You start to think like, okay, what's going to happen? How much farther do I have to go? And she said, getting to know what's going to make that fuel light come on in your players. What's the trigger that's going to make that light start blinking, that I'm not empty yet, but I'm getting there. I just thought that was a good visual for me to be able to think, like, there's different triggers for every player. Know when that light's starting to come on, and know that you can do something about it. So I thought that was a pretty good analogy to share. So next week you have 20 minutes. And you will probably be able to get through the whole principle. We want to see interaction. We're building in extra time so you can do the interactive activities. You know, I like that, you know, getting us to stand up, whatever you want to do. We would recommend you do a different principle than you did today.
Oh, absolutely.
So you get a different chance and different feedback. But we'll also try to get some people from your area on, so you have a little bit of a bigger audience, hopefully. But I'm gonna have 2 weeks worth of time slots, because there's 38 of you to get through these 20-minute demos. But don't all wait till Friday of the last week, please, because that'll kill me.
Oh, so I won't. I'll be the first person.
That's what all you Friday Today people said. No, I'll be early, even though I'm jumping on last call of the week.
I hit Friday the first day that you put it up. Okay, just checking. Hey, question. Hey.
Kelly, before, did you want to ask something, Lindsay?
Yeah, on the slide presentation, the very last slide of the E-Tank, it talks about the things you can do as a team to fill up the E-Tank. Yeah. And on the reference on mine, it references
Wrong page, right? It's a wrong page reference.
Yeah, 40. Yeah. Keep going.
This one?
Keep going. Right.
There's
40,
a typo
35.
on this line.
35, yeah. That's a typo.
Okay. All right.
It's already been fixed in the next iteration of this. Yeah.
And so
thanks for noticing
I
that.
will get that.
Yeah. There's actually, this workshop is going to look a little bit differently when we're going to launch this in July. And this has already had a couple revisions made, but I didn't want to keep sending out new PowerPoints to you guys. So, but this is going to look, there's going to be a couple things that are slightly different when this workshop is launched, meaning we let the whole trainer base be able to use this as our brand new workshop in July. So that's what I was saying. You guys in this course actually have a heads up on some of the trainers that haven't had as much practice with this new one yet. So you're going to navigate ahead of the gang, which is great.
Those additional changes that Kelly's talking about are mostly the color of the slides and fonts and stuff. It's cosmetic mostly. Then there's several typos that we've caught and corrected.
Okay.
It's not so much content format difference. There's a couple minor content format things that are different.
Did we have them on Saturday?
No, we used this on Saturday.
Okay. All right.
Now it's a process of being revised.
Kelly, can I add one thing for Brian? Brian, you have this awesome personality, and I think that when you let that personality show as a trainer, your participants are really going to enjoy it. And what I experienced with you today, it reminds me when I 18 years ago, gosh, about 16 years ago, when I first came to PCA and became a trainer, I was a different person in front of the group than I was conversing with you all now. Like, what do you see me doing right now as I'm talking to you, Brian? What do you see on my face? What do you see? You see a smile, you know? Yeah. And I saw you smile for the first time as soon as you were done facilitating. And there it is. There's your laugh. There's your smile. Lindsay's, and granted, it's, we're nervous, and it's not quite like sitting there having a cup of coffee with a friend, and but we want to bring that feel to it, and you've got it in you. You showed it the whole time you were a participant in Lindsay's piece. So I just wanted to mention that as a goal for you also next time.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. And my only other tip for you, Brian, and I was just double checking this because I was pretty sure. Don't be like Eric Eisendrath, one of the other trainers, lead trainers, talks about your magic in the room. Everybody's got something that's their little magic, something that they have that other people don't have. And I mean, you play pro baseball. Don't be afraid to use that and draw on some of that, because that's something that we don't have, and that's something that the coaches in the room will look at as, man, this guy played at the highest level, and he still believes in these principles, and he has seen this work. So I don't know if you get a chance to look yesterday. Alan Grant he played professional football. He's also in this course, and he did a really nice job at bringing up just some examples in when he played pro or when he was coaching or things that really fit in. It was humble. It wasn't like he was bragging about what he did, but he just used it at a great level to say, wow, you know what, I'm going to be talking to youth coaches, and this is how we used it in our practices when I played for the 49ers or whatever it was. So I just think it's something, don't be afraid to use it as a tool to help you in your workshops to move a point forward.
Okay, I will. That's one thing I need to do more of, because I tend to not want to talk so much about the fact that I did this and I did that. I'm not a bragging type of person. I kind of feel like I'm bragging when I do that, but I do need to incorporate some of that stuff, because it will hit home to some people if I say, hey, I've been there. I played professional baseball. I've seen it. I've done it. And it will hit more people than it doesn't. And I need to try to incorporate that into.
Exactly, Brian. And the message will be, what we will hear is, wow, this guy's been there. He's seen it. He's done it. But you'll send that message without saying that directly. You'll send that message by saying, when I first went from college to the minor leagues, blah, 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 blah. And so you're not saying I've been there, I've done it, but just by virtue of you And try it next week, and we can give you feedback, Brian, on whether we think it sounds like bragging or if it's subtle, and we'll let you know if it feels right, and you're gonna sprinkle that in.
Yeah, we have a pretty good core of trainers that were former professional athletes, and one of the things I like most about it is not saying I did this, I did that, but this is how our coach handled this, or like you don't think positivity is important in professional sports. That's where it gets super, super competitive, blah, blah, blah. My coach even realized this was important, and this did motivate me, and this demotivated. Just things like that, examples, not necessarily like bragging, like this is what I did, but this is what motivated me. This is what motivated our team. Yeah. This is how our coach handled. We did team bonding, even like, Alan was talking about like stuff they did that was not even having to do with football that helped bring the team together. That stuff's important at all levels. So I just wanted to bring that up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, do you guys have any more questions for us?
Nope.
I'm
good.
All right,
Back
cool.
to work.
Thanks, guys. I'll put that sign-up sheet together this afternoon, and I'll send it out for the next 2 weeks. So sign up for a
All
slot.
right.
See what you do.
Thanks for letting me join in.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Good one.
Kelly, we're on again in 15 minutes with another group.